There's a theory in counselling called the drama triangle, and it's all about relationships and how some relationships can be very toxic. And this explains one reason why it might be. So let's talk about that a bit more. Hello and welcome to Write Your Own Story. My name is James Taylor. I'm an online counsellor, hypnotherapist, life coach. I'm also an author, a podcaster and a YouTuber. Now, I won't go into all the science behind this drama triangle. I'll allow you to Google that if this interests you a bit more, or I'll put some things down in the description. But in essence, this concerns relationships, both personal and professional. And it might explain why, if some of your relationships haven't worked in the past, or maybe are not working right now, why it might be. Okay? So I'm going to get out the way. There's going to be a slide appear on the screen while I talk about what this drama triangle is. Now, on each point of the triangle, for this theory to work, there needs to be a victim, there needs to be a persecutor, and there needs to be a rescuer. Now, victim doesn't mean an actual victim. It means someone perceives themselves as a victim. And this victim perception can be quite high or quite low or anything in between. Now, when someone perceives themselves as a victim, it's almost like, oh, woe is me. Everything goes wrong. My glass is half empty. It always happens to me. Life is terrible. Life happens to me and I've got no control over it. And it's a very debilitating way of thinking to have, because they always view themselves as the victim. And if anyone challenges them, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. See, bad things happen to me. I attract this stuff. I have no luck ever. Now, on another corner, we have the rescuer. Now, the rescuer is very much what it says on the tin. It's like, well, I'll help support you with that. Yeah, we can do it together. We can be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I'll take some of the load. Now, that's all very well and good in normal relationships, for want of a better word. But when it comes to this drama triangle, it's almost like collusion can be going on, because the victim can take, and the rescuer can give. And if that flow of traffic is always that way, it can be incredibly draining for the rescuer. Now, the rescuer might get into this, and have a think about this with previous relationships you've had. The rescuer can actually, unwillingly, but unconsciously, enter relationships where they are the rescuer. They're going into the relationship because the person they're going to get with, they're not okay. And the rescuer is going to make them okay. It's going to help them become okay. Now, that means that if that were to play out, the victim would have to move from the victim position. And a lot of the times, the victim doesn't want to move from the victim position because they like the support and everyone stepping up around them. So they will almost do anything to keep themselves there, which can make the rescuer feel a bit like a failing rescuer. So they might up the ante with rescuing even more. Do you see how toxic this can be? Now, on the other side of the triangle, you've got the persecutor. Now, the persecutor doesn't really care about the rescuer and doesn't really care about the victim. The persecutor tends to just think about their own needs in the moment. And the persecutor might be a persecutor because of their background. So if they've been brought up, for instance, in an abusive relationship or an abusive childhood, and they've witnessed things they shouldn't have been, they've witnessed aggression and violence and this kind of thing. Well, to them, to become a persecutor can perhaps be very, very natural. So you see, these three positions all have their flaws. Now, an important thing to realise is that you don't have to stay in one position. The victim can move to the persecutor. And I'll give you an example of how. Let's say the victim is in the victim position. The rescuer is trying to help and is being rejected. Or the rescuer is trying to help and stops trying to help as much because they're getting a little bit fed up that the victim's not doing anything to help themselves. The victim can move to persecutor to challenge the rescuer. You're not stepping up enough. You're not here for me. Why are you not bothering with me? Can't you see my needs aren't being met? And this can give the rescuer a bit of a wake-up call, a toxic one, and they'll start rescuing again. And the victim, who's now in the persecutor position, will move them back to the victim position. Almost like a toxic game of chess, in a way, with no winners. No winners at all. So these positions can move. So I don't know whether you've identified either relationships in the past, or I hope it's not a relationship you're in now, how damaging the drama triangle, if it's playing out in this way in your present relationship, how damaging it can be. So how do you escape the drama triangle? Well, just like a game of chess needs two people, so does a drama triangle. And there's an old quote that I like where it goes, you can't escape a prison until you realise you're in one. Now, when I was learning about this, when I was going through my counselling training, it made me reflect about a previous relationship of mine. And I was like, wow, that just sums it up entirely. This little triangle being drawn out in these three words. And that summed up that entire previous relationship that I'd once had. It was truly a very uncomfortable light bulb moment for me, because I could see what position I was the rescuer in that position. And I remember the difficulty I had in the moment in that relationship. But years later, when this theory was explained, I was like, my goodness, that was me. I was in a drama triangle relationship, and it's awful to be in. So the way out of this thing is to first of all realise it's going on in the first place, and it takes two people to play it. Now, what normally happens is when someone realises they're in the drama triangle and they want to stop being in it, the other person can up the ante to keep them in the game. See the damage this causes? So one person tries to leave and the other one ups their game to drag the other one back in. So an example could be a rescuer starts to not necessarily leave the relationship, but not rescue as much. And the victim can either up their ante as the victim or switch to persecutor and start criticising the rescuer for being no good to get the rescuer, like I was saying before, get the rescuer to come back in. Now, a way out of this is to firm up your own personal boundaries. Now, everyone has got a line in the sand. No one really knows where anyone else's line is. We might have an idea, but we don't know exactly which is the line in the sand that person will cross. Now, with yourself, the way to escape the drama triangle is to figure out where is your line in the sand. Is it about an inch from you? Or is it you've got lots of boundaries in place and your boundary is like a safety circle around you? And that's an important point as I think about it. It's important to get it all around you. There's no point having a boundary that's just a little bit away and it's not that long, because when the person tries to test the boundary, if they bounce off the existing boundary, they're going to look for another way in because of the toxicity that they gain by playing the drama triangle game. So it's important that your boundaries become very firm. And this is a repetition thing. It's a persistence. It's having faith in yourself. It's doing it brick by brick. Rome wasn't built in a day. This is a staggered approach where you build up your boundaries either personally or professionally. Now, to help with this, a while ago, I recorded a guided meditation on boundary setting. And it's on YouTube, but what I'll do is, it's on YouTube, but it's an audio only. It's not It's not something you watch. And it's only 12 and a half minutes, I believe. So what I'll do is, in the description below, there's going to be a link to listen to that free guided meditation on boundary setting. And here's what I would suggest would be a good prescription. Listen to it first thing in the morning. Listen to it last thing at night. And it's not just for the sake of just listening to it. The idea is you listen to it once and you start to get the concept of it. The second time over, you start to put certain boundaries in place. The third time over, you might start either putting new boundaries in place or reinforcing the boundaries you've now put in place. And this is not to, you're looking to build a castle around yourself, not a prison. Big difference. All right. So the guided meditation is going to help you construct your own boundaries around you. Now, if you are unfortunate enough to be in the drama triangle at the moment, I promise you there is a way out. But I'll be honest, it's going to be challenged. The person who is in the drama triangle is going to try and get you back into it. And so the boundaries are a must. If you need any help with this yourself and you'd like to talk to me in more detail, there'll be a link in the description for a 30-minute consultation. All right. So this is just a very quick dip your toe in the water regarding the drama triangle. And the reason I've done it as a video episode from my podcast channel is so you can actually see the drama triangle and how it looks. All right. So I hope you're doing very well wherever you are. If you've enjoyed this longer than normal episode, please remember to do the like, the share and the subscribe. And this is James, and this is Write Your Own Story. Bye bye.